Hello everybody, Disciple here with Overwatch Curios. Now, modern gamers are no stranger to customizations of mechanics and cosmetics of their characters to make them uniquely suited for certain situations, either solo or with other players in a group, or just to their own liking. Now, Blizzard fans in particular are all too familiar with customization systems like this, specifically in the form of talent trees or talent builds for their heroes. World of Warcraft, Heroes of the Storm, Diablo, and even StarCraft in a way share a similar structure for taking the standard character, class, or race and making it different. So it might be no surprise to you that at one point early in its development, Overwatch had a very similar system for each and every hero, ready for you to min-max and adjust to whatever enemy team comp might come your way. Now let's take a look at how the system started, how it eventually ended, and what impact it's had, or would have had, on the game we know today. Now, the Overwatch dev team knew they had to have some kind of customization system in the game to make it feel more varied and alive, yet they didn't really know what kind of system to use in a first-person shooter since it was their first in the genre, and there were so many options to choose from considering the huge amount of shooters on the market who all do things just a little bit differently. Some allowed the customization of weapons only, some allowed changes to the visual appearance and gear of the player's characters as well. Others used a card-like system for abilities and upgrades to be chosen mid-game, and others used pre-game loadouts. The Overwatch team had to figure out not only what best suited the game and how it was meant to be played, but what would also allow the player to be comfortable with their progression and the rewards that it offered, which was no easy task at the time. On one hand, if you have too little customization, either cosmetic or in the form of gameplay mechanics, players might just get bored and move on because things start to feel a little stale. Now, if you have too much, it can be very overwhelming and confusing for new and casual players, and really keep out people who don't know how to absolutely hit the maximum possible. So early in development, the team began with a tried and true method of injecting customization and flavor into the hero roster, the talent tree. The team felt that a talent tree would be a relatively easy idea to implement because it had been done so many times before across the company, and they felt very comfortable toying around with the various upgrades and experience needed to build the tree the way the player wants. The idea was pretty simple. The player plays a hero who levels up as the match ends with variables such as win-loss, kill performance, objective performance, etc. Now once that particular hero gains enough experience, that hero levels up. At certain levels, the player can choose from a variety of talents to enhance and customize that particular hero until it's maxed out. Each individual hero has his or her own experience, levels, and talents that have to be earned and unlocked individually from the others. Now this system adds a ton of depth to the hero roster itself. Imagine taking the time to master a hero's playstyle, level that hero up considerably, and then use that experience and levels to tweak and adjust the hero to your liking or to min-max, and then mastering that unique talent build. Now multiply that by 23, the number of heroes we currently have in the game, or 24 once Orisa comes out. That's a lot of work and effort, and would definitely keep people playing for a long time just to try and unlock everything. Which was one of the goals the dev team had to begin with. Every developer wants their game to be played for as long as possible, of course, because they're going to continue releasing content and selling some sort of DLC along with it. Now this would allow the dev team the ability to add in a huge assortment of abilities, team comp specific upgrades, as well as some very interesting cosmetic customization options that took advantage of the unique abilities in each hero's talent tree. It wasn't long before this idea hit the testers on Overwatch team to see how it would handle in game, which is where the first major hurdle started to hit. One of the biggest was the fact that with this talent system based on experience, players oftentimes would simply never hero change because they wanted to progress on the hero they played. This posed a serious challenge to the team because one of the main driving points of the game itself was the dynamic hero swapping mechanic that was key to playing and winning matches. The focus was meant to have players swap in and out of various heroes and team compositions to counter the enemy's picks and plays, and this talent system simply didn't really promote that playstyle at all. It caused a behavior in players that would result in teams having comps that weren't up to par or didn't make sense, just so the player could get to that next experience or level milestone and grab that next talent. The talent tiers themselves ended up being a negative aspect as well. Adding more depth to a game and its characters is great, but Overwatch's talent tier system was becoming overwhelmingly complicated with some heroes, like Reaper for example, having up to 7 different talent builds. That's 7 on 1 hero, so multiply that by however many heroes we have at the time, and you can see how insane that could get very, very quickly. However, even a simplified version of this system would have some problems to overcome. For example, another serious flaw in the system circles around the player not knowing exactly what the enemy team players had in their arsenals. The player would end up wondering which talents the enemy had chosen and not be able to proactively anticipate the outcomes or react with the proper response fast enough. Overcomplicated talent builds and mechanics became a problem in World of Warcraft several years ago, to the point where the WoW team actually gutted the entire system and reworked it up from the ground, creating more meaningful and streamlined choices instead of giving you 1 point for every level. Even if Overwatch ended up taking the same path and adjusting the talents to just a few per hero, it's still way too difficult for a fast-paced game like Overwatch to make it clear to the players who's got what abilities and talents. The players would end up spending more time guessing and wondering what happened versus making the right picks and plays. And if there were any talents that really adjusted your playstyle or how you fought in a match, and you didn't know what your enemies had and how exactly you're supposed to play around it, it would just create a lot of confusion that really wouldn't make the game feel very rewarding to play. Competitive play would also take a hit with a system like this. Now, the key to competitive play in any sense is team and player balance. Equal numbers of players, even number of teams, symmetrical goals for winning. Everything has to be equal for each team to have a fair chance. Now, Overwatch pretty much does that with its 2-round match system, even number of players on each team, and objectives. However, once you throw talents into the mix, things could get very imbalanced very quickly. Say you both had a Reaper on your team, but the Reaper with the most experience and the better talent build would have a distinct advantage over the other simply because of time played, not necessarily just skill level. But if you wanted to switch to a particular character to counter someone else, you might not feel like you should because you haven't unlocked all of their talents to really access their full arsenal of abilities. There really wouldn't be a clear way to balance a competitive game of Overwatch within that system, simply put. It would most certainly skew the MMR systems that were in place, with some players having the easy mode advantage, while others who may be great players but lack the talents on those characters could be left behind in the rankings. Furthermore, there's just no way to have the no swap behavior in competitive play. Even now, it's beyond frustrating when a player who's on a hero that doesn't particularly help the team and then refuse to switch to anything else, forcing a suboptimal composition. So perhaps an in-game talent system would be better like some MOBAs have, for example. Well, then you run into the same issues of not knowing what the enemy player has, albeit you might know at what level or tier they have it at. That kind of talent system is more suited for slower moving games, but it's been done before in other first-person shooters with things like a card system or talent unlocks through in-game performance. This system would also limit the number of skills and talent changes to a handful instead of a dozen or so, simply because you would need to keep them within the time frame of the match, which is usually a lot shorter than that of a MOBA or other PvP and MMORPG. Ultimately, this sort of system was tried and tested within the internal Overwatch team, and they simply decided that it didn't fit with what the game was all about. A fast, competitive PvP shooter that promoted fun, fairness, and simplicity. Now, I'm trying to think of something like League of Legends has in their Keystone system, where although they can have many different options throughout their talents, that one Keystone mastery really changes how they play. And something like this in Overwatch could work a lot better than the other talent builds, since you could see very visibly what buff they had, but of course, you shouldn't need to be checking the tab screen so often just to see all those specific things you need to play against, when it really should just be used as a quick glance to see who's alive, who has their ultimates, and what exactly your next fight is going to look like because of your enemy team composition. Factor in talent builds and that just becomes way too much information, which definitely strays away from a more casual kind of style that Overwatch is going for. Now, the second attempt at a talented progression system focused 100% on cosmetic upgrades as the rewards for leveling up particular heroes this time, without any kind of talent or ability upgrades. As players leveled up heroes, they'd unlock new cosmetic items for the character to wear. During internal alpha testing, the team realized that the system promoted way too much single hero mindset again, as testers wouldn't switch off their favorite hero at all because they were itching to get to that next level and cosmetic reward. Just like the behavior when upgrading those talents, this behavior is completely counterintuitive to what the game is meant to stand for. At this point, the team had tested two very common methods for player progression, but realized that there just wasn't a way to have a game like this with their set of goals in mind, and have hero-based progression systems built in as well. Overall, while the talent system built into Overwatch seemed like a good idea at first, it ultimately failed when attached to any single hero. The progression system we have today rewards players for playing whoever they want and however they want, whether it's through quick play, competitive, the arcade, or now custom games in the browser. You can earn experience points towards new levels and get loot boxes that can have completely random items or give you currency to buy whatever you want. This is a pretty fair and equal system for all players regardless of how much they play and what mode they play, and it also gave Blizzard a pretty great way to monetize the game beyond initial game sales so that they can benefit from those whales and offer the game at a lower price to everyone else. The other system that we do have in place for progression is of course the competitive point system, and one of the things that I like most about that is that you can buy a golden gun for anybody regardless of how much time you have played on them, so that you don't feel forced to play one person in competitive just to unlock their golden gun. However, the competitive points are still so sparse that you're very unlikely to spend it on someone that you have no idea how to play. Of course, I've got a golden gun on Bastion, so who the hell am I to talk? Anyway, that's all I've got for you today. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, I will see you guys next time. Peace.